As a business, we can get our ads at the top of a search engine result page when someone searches if we offer to pay for the click. Our quality score determines where we appear. A successful campaign will start and end with good management, including research, production of multimedia like coupons and billboards, and of course, landing pages. A properly planned campaign complete with multiple ad groups and a correctly targeted demographic that tracks everything a user does while circling back to maintenance and management will produce a good SEM campaign. Let's say I type in a search term. In this case, I'm interested in landing pages. What I get on this page is a SERP, S-E-R-P, a search engine results page, and that's everything that's on this page together. As an end user, I can just click on any of these results and be satisfied. But if I'm a business selling any product or service, I have a vested interest in understanding exactly what users are typing in to find me, and more importantly, how do I get here onto page 1 in Google. So let's break down the anatomy of this search engine results page. First off, at the top of the list here, we have advertisements, and these are clearly denoted and marked with the word ad. And notice that they're at the top of the list. In this case, these users have paid Google to show up at the top here. They're paying to play. Their advertisements get priority. Next, if I move down the page a little bit, I'll notice that there's an organic section here. And this organic area is different from the advertisements. These users are here based on a popularity contest known as SEO commonly. And the way that they get there is a variety of links and building and following certain rules for search engine optimization. But that's very different from the top portion where these users have paid to appear here. They don't have to follow the same set of rules. Their rules are much different. And off to the right-hand side, this is what Google calls the knowledge graph card. We won't focus on that since that's more of a facet of SEO. Instead, my concern is how did these guys show up here at the very top of page 1 for this keyword? The simple answer is they've paid for it. They pay every time someone clicks on one of those links, which is different than the organic SEO in that no one pays when those links are clicked. The only cost there is what it took to actually win that race. If I click on this item here, I will actually cost this company money. So to be polite for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to click on it. If I scroll a little bit down on the page and I click on this item, this user won't pay for my click. Although it may have cost them money to get listed in this #1 spot, they won't pay every time a user clicks on this particular advertisement. Most search engines use a very similar anatomy. For example, here on Bing, we can see as well there are advertisements towards the top of the page, a knowledge graph card on the right-hand side of the page, and if I scroll down a bit, I'll get into the general organic listings, which are earned through link building and SEO. So the simple answer on how to get here is to fire up an AdWords panel with Google or a Bing Ads panel with Bing and begin to pay to play, so to speak. Whereas keywords would be defined and advertisements would be created, which would show anytime someone types in those keywords. So let's take a look at what's involved in the average 6-month SEM campaign. There's some top-level items: management, landing pages, campaigns, and tracking systems. But if I take a closer look at management, I'll see that just like a new kitchen renovation, there's some planning to be done, making sure that my research and setup is correct. The analogy here would be, before I start tearing out the old kitchen, I should take some measurements and make sure that my countertops, walls, and floors all match. During the course of that campaign, there'll be web maintenance and physical things that will get printed or made, such as coupons, billboards, or assistance with selecting the right radio station or television channel to advertise on. During the course of that campaign, there's also going to be constant adjustments, fine-tuning, monitoring, revisions, meeting, consulting, making sure that everything's running smoothly, because it is possible to lose money on a campaign if it's not managed properly. The next thing that actually gets made would be landing pages. And we'll start with a primary, and that primary will usually evolve into variation 1 and 2 for an A/B test. And the knowledge that's gained from that will be used in a secondary or tertiary campaign during that 3 to 6 month period. Next up would be the components of the campaign itself. Campaign number 1 in this case might be a geo-target, and within that actual campaign there would be a branded ad group, which would only trigger when the company name is typed into the search engine. Next up is the general ad group, which consists of 3 ads, 50 to 250 keywords, all focused on a very specific area of the map. There's also negative keywords that will get added in. These are especially useful in situations where the same city name happens to appear in multiple states, and we only want to target a very specific state that has our city. Next up is throttling, making sure that the zip code and the geo-based targeting and user demographics are in place. Now, if I'm doing a national campaign, I don't have to worry about location, but I do have to worry about behavior. Tracking systems are important. I need to make sure that my campaign is working, so I know where the income is coming from, which areas are successful. This includes Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager to let me know what parts of the page users prefer to interact with, as well as direct AdWords conversions. So I can measure campaign A did better than campaign B, or ad group 1 performs better than ad group 2. Now if I take a step back and look at the big picture, some things become apparent. There are physical things that can actually be seen, such as landing pages, coupons, and billboards. But there's planning behind each of those items. Then there are hidden things, such as the administrative panel. And this is where the campaigns and tracking systems will come into play that the public won't see. Let's then start with planning. Before launching that new campaign, it's important to take measurements. We need to find out what are the trends and how often does somebody search for certain keywords. SEMrush does that. It's an all-in-one marketing toolkit. For example, let's say I want to do some research on the keyword phrase landing pages. I can get information about what the volume is organically in paid search. And I can answer that all-hallowed question, how much will this cost? And the answer is it's going to change. In this case, just the phrase landing page costs about $12.67 per click. An entire tutorial video could be devoted to just using this system. So let's move on to the next set of tools. Next up, we have the advertising platform. And in this case, we're looking at Google Ads, formerly Google AdWords. And this is going to change for each particular company. For example, Bing is going to look slightly different from YouTube, and YouTube will look different from Facebook. The next concept is throttling based on geographic location. Simply put, doubling bids or completely eliminating bids in specific areas. Maybe you don't want to serve these specific zip codes in red. Maybe as you get towards the edge of the area you serve, you want to include another zip code. All of these factors play an important role in making sure that we're targeting the people that we want to target. Having this data is critical. Knowing the targeted location and how many people convert there helps us make informed decisions, such as this is the area to put up a billboard. Look at the conversions we have. In other areas with slightly less business, we may be justified in running a radio ad here. The next consideration is areas with clicks but no conversions. We would want to investigate why that's happening before we cross it off the list. This is now a caveat into the next tool, in this case, the Google Analytics tracking panel. And when tracking is installed properly, there is a wealth of data that customers are telling us about what they think of our service and, more importantly, where they are and how they behave. If I'm going to prove that my previous claim was true, we should put a billboard in this zip code and not put a billboard in this other zip code. I'll need some compelling reasons to do so. Google Analytics helps me make the case. Google Analytics will also then help me justify the reasons for changing a page. If I'm tracking events properly, I can figure out where people came from, what they clicked on, if they downloaded a coupon. More importantly, did they reach the bottom of the page while scrolling? And then based on that information, I have a justified reason for suggesting a design change. For example, this many people reached halfway down the page, so it's a good idea to put another button there that links to the phone number. That then brings us to the concept of actually designing and building the landing page. There's very good reasons why the logo doesn't link back to the main website, and why and where a phone number might be placed on the page. Over time, customers will tell us what the right interaction is. For example, one of the things we may discover is moving the form to the left-hand side of the page works better to convert mobile users because then it will show above the content on a mobile device. So these changes that are being made on different mobile devices aren't made just because they look good. They're being done because users in Google Analytics are telling us what devices they use. AdWords then tells us exactly who these users are. Google Analytics tells us what they click on and how they behave. And that then gives us the compelling and proper reasons for changing from version A of a landing page to version B. That now brings us back full circle to the 6-month SEM campaign. And that's a wrap. Thanks for watching.